This is a draft cross-examination by a defense lawyer with possible responses by a government expert. The draft is far from perfect and could use improvement. This video is prepared to encourage discussion among defense lawyers and to improve the quality of cross-examination on metrology issues in relationship to drinking and driving offenses. In this case, the defense wants to establish that OIML R126 is the international standard for evidentiary breath analyzers. The purpose of this cross-examination include obtaining admissions that, first of all, that there exists an international legal measurement standard for evidential breath analyzers. That the international standard for evidential breath analyzers is OIML R126. That OIML R126 is the international standard that was referred to Brian Hodgson in his paper. And I'm referring to the paper that the Supreme Court of Canada referred to in the case of R.V. Saint-Onge-Lamoureux in talking about instrumental reliability. The purposes of this cross-examination also include establishing that Canada is a member state of the OIML, that Canadian scientists have played a role in the development of this international standard. The defense wishes to establish that the international standard does not state that one control test data point is adequate to check the reliability of evidential breath analyzers, as is alleged in the Alcohol Test Committee 2012 position paper. The defense has as an additional purpose to introduce the concept of MPE, in other words, maximum permissible error at low, medium, and high data points, such as 50, 100, and 300 milligram percent. To consider the different applications of MPE at each of type approval, initial verification of the specific instrument, verification after repair, all contrasted with in service at the time of the subject tests. Question: nothing at your fingertips? All right. Now, Brian Hodgson in his paper refers to an international standard called OIML R126 in relationship to evidential breath testing. Answer: okay, thank you. Question: and Your Honor, I'm going to pass up a copy. Z Regional Police and the Crown already have copies of these. Question: in terms of the OIML, as I understand it, the OIML is an organization with the name that's on the front page of this document. Have you heard of this document and this organization before? Answer: yes. Question: and it exists as the result of a convention, an international convention from 1955, and specifically in terms of member states of that convention, the member states are listed at tab 9 of the materials. Answer: I'll have to take your word for it. Question: and all right, you'll agree with me that on tab 9, 1, 2, 3, on the fourth page down, it's indicated that Canada is a member state. The representative for Canada is Mr. Alan Johnson for Measurement Canada. Answer: one moment, please. Question: 4 pages down in tab 9. Question: all right. Now, there is a document contained in this bundle called OIML R126. It's at tab number 7, the 2012 version. Will you agree with me that page 6, that the scope of the recommendation, top of page 6, item number 1, quote, this recommendation applies to quantitative breath alcohol analyzers that render a measurement result of alcohol concentration in exhaled human breath for the purpose of establishing compliance with national policy for fighting against alcohol abuse, end of quote. That scope would appear to apply. The instruments that are being described are the same types of instruments that we are dealing with all of the time. We call approved instruments. Answer, yes. The next paragraph down says, quote, these types of quantitative breath alcohol analyzers are referred to by some national authorities as evidential breath alcohol analyzers and serve to provide the principal means by which a definitive alcohol measurement is obtained. Yes. Question. That would seem to fit our concept of an approved instrument. Answer, yes. Question. And the scope of this document does not include devices that provide a preliminary result or don't quantitatively indicate a measurement result. In other words, something like a screening device. Answer. I'd have to read the whole document to make that assessment, but question at the third paragraph under scope, page 6, answer, correct? Yes. Question, all right, in terms of Canadian connection with this document, I'm just going to pass up a list of committee members of OIML, and specifically within OIML, individuals that are listed include someone called, well, I can see the email address, is benny.wong@csfs.ca. Do you know somebody by the name of Benny Wong? Answer. He works for the RCMP in Ottawa. Question. Right. And another person that's mentioned on this committee is Felix Como, a company called ACS, Alcohol Countermeasure Systems. Answer. Yes. And are you familiar with that individual? Answer. I am not, but I am familiar with the company. They produce alcohol standard solutions that are often used in simulators for checking the calibration of the devices. Question. I think that was the same company that the Crown Attorney was cross-examining the defense expert doing consulting work for them on one of the earlier days in this proceeding. Answer, that's correct. I believe he certifies their alcohol standard solutions prior to it being released. Question, and then there's another reference to someone by the name of Carl Cotton of Measurement Canada. Answer, yes. Question, do you know that person? Answer, I do not. And then there's another person, Dr. Robert Langille. Answer, yes. Question, do you know that individual? Answer, I do. Question, somebody who you work with every day at the Center of Forensic Sciences? Answer, yes, I do. Question, I see. Now going back to Exhibit 12. Exhibit 12 in this matter, which are the document disclosed with respect to this particular intoxilizer. And just for your benefit, that was the certificate of calibration, the original manufacturer's certificate of calibration for a particular intoxilizer that I would be referring to. And that's what you would be doing if you had a certificate of calibration for the particular intoxilizer that you were dealing with. What would it say in terms of the standards to which that instrument were calibrated? In the certificate of calibration that we talked about before at page 7 of Exhibit 12, the certificate of calibration for the Intoxilizer 8000, certified by CMI Inc., makes reference to an OIML standard, OIML R126. Answer, Question, it specifically makes reference to an edition 1998. Answer, yes. Question, whereas the book that I'm just showing you, and we just referred to the tab we referred to as the 2012 version. I just want to make sure that we have that in this document. Question, tab 6 is the 1998 version. Answer, yes. Question, all right. Now again, going back to this practice of only checking at one data point, only checking at 100 milligrams per 100 mils. I want to suggest to you that in the international literature, the practical problem of an instrument during time of use and deviating beyond certain limits, in the international literature, they call that the maximum permissible error, the MPE. Answer, I don't know that definition. I'm sure that's something that you're reading. Question, could you just please refer to OIML R126, page 10. There's an indication there at paragraph 5.2, a paragraph called maximum permissible error. Answer, sorry, what? Question, maximum permissible errors. Answer, for which section? Question 5.2 and specifically 5.2.1 on page 10. Answer, maximum permissible errors for type approval and initial verification and verification after repair. Question, I just wanted to ask you, it's clear from this document that in this international standard, the maximum permissible error is used not just with respect to the initial evaluation of an instrument, but also with respect to occasions when the particular instrument with the specific serial number, is verified initially and where there has been a verification after repair. Answer, I would need to read this paragraph. Question, if you might read then paragraph 5.2.1. Answer, all right. If you can repeat your question then. Question, so under 5.2.1, it's pretty clear that the OIML has a defined maximum permissible error for type approval, which I gather is something similar to an evaluation of an instrument model to determine if it should become an approved instrument. It's something that also applies to initial verification of an individual instrument and verification after the repair of an instrument. Answer, that's what appears to be, yes? Question, and the maximum permissible error is stated as a maximum, but is not limited to just 100 milligrams per 100 mils. Answer, I don't see where you're reading that. Question, well, I see that it indicates that the maximum permissible error, positive or negative, is 0.02. So that's plus or minus 2 milligrams per 100 mils. Answer, yes, or 5% of the reference value of the mass concentration. So if, for example, if we were dealing with a 40 solution, then it would be 2 milligrams per 100 mils, which is the same as what it is in milligrams per liter if we use it as a percentage. For 50 solution, it would be the same thing in the sense that it's plus or minus 0.02 milligrams per liter or 0.02 milligrams per liter calculated as a percentage. Whereas with 100 solution, it's a maximum of 2 milligrams per liter or milligrams per 100 mils, or 5 milligrams per 100 mils if you do it by way of percentage under the maximums. Answer, yes. Question, now what's interesting there is that the maximum permissible error is described across the range. The measuring range, or measuring interval, of the instrument is described in paragraph 5.1. Answer, so the range they're giving at the top is 9 to 200 milligrams of alcohol in 100 mils of blood. Question, yes. Answer, so the breath alcohol analyzer shall be capable of measuring all mass concentrations in the range of 0 to 2 milligrams per liter to at least 2 milligrams per liter, which is 0 to 200 milligrams of alcohol in 100 mils of blood. Question, yes. Answer, however, in the measuring mode, the breath alcohol analyzer may indicate 0.00 milligrams per liter of mass concentration equal to or smaller than a given value defined under the responsibility of the national authorities. Such a masking function shall be able to be cancelled in maintenance mode. Question, all right. So we know that with respect to the Intoxilyzer 8000C, as with the Intoxilyzer 5000C, the first approximately 6 milligrams per 100 mils are masked. Answer, no. If the result is 6, that is shown as 0. It doesn't mask for actual results that are larger than that. Question, I see. All right, but anyway, my point is that if you read 5.2 and 5.2.1, maximum permissible errors in this document in the international literature standard of what's to be expected of the performance of the instruments, maximum permissible errors are defined as a percentage or a number of milligrams per 100 mils, but it applies across the range, across the measuring interval. It's not just at 100 milligrams per 100 mils. Answer, it seems to be. That's your interpretation of it. It doesn't actually specify the number of samples that have to be used to check the result. in that just giving you a concentration that the result should be between 0 and 200 milligrams of alcohol and 100 mils of blood doesn't say that there should be one at 50, one at 100, and one at 150. Question I see, but answer. Additionally, there's also 5.2.2, which is maximum permissible errors for breath alcohol analyzers in service. Question, yes. Answer, right. Which would probably be more applicable to what's being used and what's being done in the field as opposed to what's being done in a laboratory or being done during verification, like by the alcohol test committee. Question, all right. The parameters. Now, I should note that it's really easy when you're doing this kind of cross-examination to make a mistake in the math. And part of that has to do with looking at OIML R126. A number of the indications there and the rules there relate to breath alcohol concentration rather than blood alcohol concentration. So I urge you to consult your expert when you prepare your chart for use in cross-examining of a government expert on these subjects. And I've learned the hard way that it's really, really important to do that well in advance of your cross-examination. You have to have these numbers at your fingertips and you have to have them all correct. Question. Just to understand the numbers that I'm showing you in the chart, the possible chart that you're showing to the expert, can you tell me if my math is right? So for in-service, these are the maximum permissible errors. If we're looking at 40 standard, 50 standard, 100 standard, 300 standard. Those are the maximum numbers in the international literature. Answer, at first glance, they appear to be. Your math appears to be correct. Question. All right, so if using the international standard, then when we're dealing with 40 solution, we should be looking at a maximum permissible error of, from the perspective of the international literature, we should be looking at a maximum permissible error of plus or minus 6 milligrams per 100 mils. Again, thinking in terms of blood alcohol concentration. Right? Answer. That is correct based on these values. Yes. Question. And the same with 50. In other words, it would be also be 6. And at 100, we should be looking at a maximum of plus or minus 7 milligrams per 100 mils. Right? Answer, that is correct. Question, but my point is that the concept of maximum permissible error in the international literature seems to permit that the maximum permissible error varies across the measuring interval or the measuring range of the instrument. Answer, well, the range here is from 0 to 200. You've actually gone up to 300. Question, yes. All right, well, if we do it with 200, then it would be a similar calculation. Answer, yes, it would. Question, but my point is that in terms of international literature, it seems that when looking at maximum permissible error for an instrument in service, the international literature expectation is a whole lot tighter than plus or minus 10 milligrams per 100 mils for an instrument in service. Answer, correct. Now that's probably the most important part of this cross-examination, is to urge the government expert to acknowledge that the scientific literature that's out there internationally, what comes in particular from the OIML and OIML R126, the maximum permissible error is much tighter internationally than just the 10 milligrams per 100 mils that we use on a day-to-day basis in Ontario that police use when instruments are out in the field in service. The point being that, from a defense perspective, is that for type approval, for initial verification of a new machine with a new serial number that's just being verified before it's put into use, see the Alcohol Test Committee recommendations on operating standards and on best practices. For those instruments, and for instruments that have been repaired, or instruments that are going back for inspection or are being maintained periodically, or have received maintenance and repair, then the key is that the international reference standard is much tighter than just 10 milligrams per 100 mils. And that admission is an important one for the defense to obtain from the government expert. Question. And not only that, but it is a number that needs to be considered across the measuring range of the instrument. In other words, across the measuring interval, not just at one value of 100 milligrams per 100 mils. Answer. Again, I don't see where it says that in this document. Question. Well, answer, it doesn't specify that there should be more than one check of the concentration range or the linearity in this document. Now, linearity is a subject that I will deal with in other videos and other areas of cross-examination. But it is important to consider that calibration of an instrument is important so in such a way that the instrument is linear and measurement results are reliable across the measuring interval of the instrument, across the measurement range of the instrument. You'll see more of this cross-examination under the heading International Standard OIML R126 Mandates Maximum Permissible Error. And the article, the Hodgson article that I referred to earlier, is called The Validity of Evidential Breath Alcohol Testing, and you will see that it is referred to in the case R.V. Saint-Onge Lamoureux reported in the Supreme Court of Canada.